Welcome back to the fifth and final part of this quick start tutorial series. In the last video, we went ahead and set up a FK system, an FK armature, but today we're actually going to work on setting up an IK armature as well as setting up the hips properly. The first step that we're actually going to take is to make sure that our parenting is correct. So we want to make sure that our shoulder bones are parented to our chest bone and our leg bones are parented to our hip bone. And then lastly, our hip bone is parented to our root bone. And you can see all those parenting going on, all that parenting going on by the dotted lines. So make sure that your armature is set up properly before we get started. So once your armature is parented correctly, I'm actually going to turn on symmetry up here, so that'll make things a little bit easier. I'm going to go into my orthographic view, and I'm going to select this joint here. I'm going to hit E to extrude, Y to extrude in the Y-axis. I'm going to clear this parent, and I'm going to parent the hand bone to this IK controller. And you'll also notice that we're actually doing the same thing on the other side too. So that's why symmetry is real nice. And we're going to name this bone to IK arm control.l. We're going to copy this name and we're going to take it over here and paste it to this control, but name it .r. And now we're going to go back to our elbow, or to our other arm, and we're going to select our elbow here. And before you do anything else, go ahead and take this joint and just move it ever so slightly off center. The reason why you want to do that is because if the arm is perfectly straight like this, Blender sometimes doesn't know which way to point the elbow, and it'll just completely lock out the arm, and we don't want it to do that. So just take that elbow joint and just move it slightly off center. We're going to take our elbow joint, we're going to hit E to extrude, and then Y to extrude on the Y-axis. We're going to take this bone, we're going to clear the parent, and we're actually going to move this bone away from our elbow. Before we move on, we're going to go ahead and name our elbow controllers here. And I'm going to name this IK elbow control.l. And again, we got to copy this over to the other side. All right. Now that we have our controllers ready to go, we're going to go into pose mode and we're going to start adding our constraints. So we're going to click on the lower arm, go down to our bone constraints, add bone constraint, inverse kinematics. Our target is going to be our armature, and our bone that we're going to target is the IK arm control that we created. And for pull target, we're going to go armature. And again, that target is going to be the IK elbow control. And this weird thing happens. Don't freak out. It's totally okay, because all we need to do is set the chain length to 2. And still, it's a little freaky, so we're going to fix that too. We're going to change our pull angle until our arm is right side up again. So for this particular arm, it's at 180 degrees. And now our IK is working. We have a functioning IK. There is still one problem. Our hand is flying off, and we don't want that. That's a really easy fix. We're actually going to select our hand bone. We're going to add another constraint. And we're going to do copy, location, target, armature, and then the target bone for this constraint is going to be our lower arm. And it moves it to the head of the bone. So all we need to do is just select this and just move that up so that it's following the tail of the bone. So now whenever we move our IK control, our hand isn't going to go flying off. And you can also move your elbow up and down as well using this control. So the only thing that doesn't transfer over is constraints to the other side. That's the only thing that doesn't mirror over. So now we actually need to take all of this and we need to do it again on this side. Okay, now we have IK on both of our arms. Now it's time to do the legs. And to be honest, it's exactly the same as the arms. So pretty much all you need to do is, let's actually go back into edit mode. And we got to do the same thing with the knees that we did with the elbow. And we just need to like slightly move that off center, just a little bit. And then we're going to go into our orthographic view, and we're going to create a IK control here by pressing E and then, whoops, Y to extrude in the Y-axis for our IK control. And we're going to Alt-P to clear that parent and leave it where it's at. We're going to take our knee joint here, E again to extrude, in Y into the Y-axis. We're going to go Alt-P to clear this parent. And we're going to move this pretty far out. You definitely want it to be pretty far away, otherwise your leg's going to freak out if the knee gets too close to the pole. And we're going to name these. So I'm actually going to name these controls IK leg control.L. Copy this over to this side, .R. And we're going to name this one IK knee control.L. And copy it over to the other side with a .R. And there you go. Now we have our control set up. And the next step, just like with the arms, is we're going to go into pose mode. We're going to select lower leg this time. And we're going to do Inverse Kinematics, target armature, target bone, the IK leg control, pull target, armature, and the target bone, IK knee. It's going to freak out again, but that's okay. We just need to set our chain length to 2. And for our pull angle, it seems to want to go -90. So we'll do that. And again, just like with our hand bone, our foot's going to go flying off, so we need to add a copy location, target armature, lower leg, change it from head to tail, and there we go. We have functioning IK on our legs. And like I said before, our foot doesn't go flying off, and that's what we want. So now we actually just need to copy this to the other side. And we're done. The cool thing about IK is it's honestly kind of the easiest thing you can possibly do as far as rigging goes, because Blender just makes it very easy to set it up. The very last thing that we're going to do before we call it a day is we're actually going to fix our hips. So you want your hips to be able to move independently from the rest of your model. And the really dumb, easy way to do that would be to go to this spine bone and turn off inherit rotation. And it gives you that independence, but what's happening is it's rotating along the wrong axis. So we're actually going to turn this back on. And so what we're actually going to do is we're going to go into object mode, and we're going to first unparent these two bones. We're going to Alt-P, clear parent, keep transformation. And now we're going to go back into edit mode, and we're actually going to duplicate this bone by hitting Shift D, and we're just going to right click to leave it where it's at. And we're going to right click again and select switch direction. So now this bone is upside down, and we're going to name this bone hip control. And we're going to go back into object mode. We're going to select our two hip parts, and we're going to go back into pose mode, and we're going to parent these parts to this bone here by hitting Control P and bone. So what that does is now our hips are going to follow this part, and they're going to move independently. But we're not done yet, because obviously our legs aren't connected. But the first thing we need to do is actually parent this bone to this bone. So now that that bone has been parented to this bone, our legs now need to be parented to the new hip bone, because currently it's parented to this bone. So we need to go back into edit mode. I'm going to select our upper leg, and then we're going to select our hip control and do Control P, keep offset, and it's actually going to do the same thing on the other side too, because we have mirroring on. So now when we go into pose mode and we select our hip control and we rotate our hips, now our hips are moving independently of the rest of our body. And it also follows with our original hip control too. The only thing that you don't want to do when you're animating is you don't want to move this bone at all. So you would actually want to lock the location of this bone by going up here to item, and we're just going to lock all three of these. So you should not be able to move that bone anymore. If you want to move the character up and down by their hips, you want to use the original hip control and move them up and down like so. So there you go. That's how you make independently moving hips. It's super easy. It's awesome. The very last thing that we want to do is we do actually want to parent our controls to our rig, because if we try to move him around with the root, his controls are kind of keeping him dragged down, and we don't want that. We're going to go back in edit mode. We're going to take our IK control, and we are going to parent it to our original hip bone, the one that's facing in the right direction. So this bone right here. We're going to control P, keep offset, and we're going to do the same thing with our elbow control. So now, whenever we move our hips, our IK for our arms control, for the IK controls for our arms follow wherever the hips go. You could alternatively parent these to the chest bone as well. Some people prefer it that way, some people don't. It's just kind of up to the animator how they want it. And then for our leg IK controls, we are going to parent these to the root bone. Because then what that allows us to do is it allows us to move our entire rig around our root bone. Well, that's it. That's how you rig Bionicles. And I will say there are a lot more that you could do. For example, you could do a foot rig, but I'm not going to be covering this in this quick start tutorial. Realistically, you could go ahead and animate it like this, but I would definitely look into more Blender tutorials, especially on how to make a foot rig, because there's lots of different ways, and it just depends on what you want to do in particular with this model. So thank you so much for following along with me. I know it's been a really long road to get here, and I hope you learned something. I look forward to seeing all of the creative things that people come out with in the coming days after this. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one.